guys, it's Queenie back again with another review. Hope you guys are doing awesome. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the new Hulu, I guess we can call it a dramedy, entitled Queenie, and it's based on a novel by Candice Carty Williams. And I'm going to tell you my thoughts around it, but I'm going to give you a minor spoiler here in the synopsis. It does happen in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the show, so I don't go too deep into spoilers for the outcome of the show, but it is necessary for me to talk about my thoughts around the show and whether or not you should check it out. So keep watching. All right, so Queenie is all about this young woman who is 25 years old and incurring a quarter-life crisis. She is dating her boyfriend, who she's been with for quite a few years, and she experiences a miscarriage. But right around the same time that she has this miscarriage, he decides to break things off with her because of her seemingly angry and frustrating behavior. A lot of this behavior as the result for the ongoing racism and microaggressions that she faces in her day-to-day life, her lack of progression in her job, and the lack of support that she has from him. I mean, he witnesses some racist comments from his own family and he doesn't speak out against it. But there are a cast of characters in this that shows that she does have a support group. There, for instance, is her best friend Cheske, played by the British singer Bellah. There's also her grandfather, played by the incomparable Joseph Marcell, who many of you will know as as the butler Jeffrey from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And the show has an interesting take in what it means to be a young Black woman in British society. There's a universal story here at its core, but it's very interesting. I found it very refreshing to see a lot of the microaggressions that sometimes we face here in America and are sometimes criticized by people in other countries showing up on media created in another country, to show that these are kind of universal things that Black people face everywhere. I mean, it is unfortunately a real thing that is universally experienced, and it was a very universal story. I mean, I think that anyone can connect with Queenie's story, whether you are a woman or a man, whether you're facing struggles in your job, whether you're facing family secrets that are dominating you, you're having traumatic experiences from childhood trauma. Trying to find yourself at this age of being in your 20s is something that anyone can resonate with. Now, on the one hand, I thoroughly enjoyed Queenie. First and foremost, the way that it's filmed, it's very fresh and fast-paced and intriguing. There are some comedic moments that bring a lot of levity and make this show very enjoyable. The chemistry between the actors, you can see that they spent some time together building bonds, and I really thoroughly enjoyed seeing them interact and engage. It felt like I was actually watching someone interact with their own family, with their own friend group, and it felt very real. And I thought that was one of the things that the show does very well. One of the things that the show doesn't do as well is it doesn't market itself in the right way. I went into watching this thinking that it was basically just a comedy of errors, so to speak, and we were going to watch this woman kind of stumbling through life, but it was going to be mostly fun and engaging, kind of like a modern take on living single. It was very traumatizing, to the point where several episodes had to have trigger warnings because you're dealing with issues of self-harm, you're dealing with issues of abuse and neglect, and it was very heavy in a lot of places in this show. Even the opening scene where Queenie is at the OBGYN and she is encountering microaggressions from her physician, that can be very triggering, and a lot of women, and a lot of Black women, have talked about having similar experiences with their medical professionals. I have had uncomfortable experiences with medical professionals, but thankfully, very early on in my life, I found medical professionals that I felt comfortable with, and we have good rapport, and they remember things about me, or at least they include them in my notes, so I don't feel like I'm opening myself up to someone who is asking me what my name was again, which is something that happens in the show and can be comedic because it's like, oh yes, that's the thing that happens to all of us, but also, yeah, very sad, very depressing. The show traverses through various ways in which it describes Queenie kind of self-sabotaging herself, but a lot of this is dealing with childhood trauma and what happens when that is buried within you. The way that it emerges is through a lot of self-sabotaging tactics as people try to navigate life not being healed. One of the things that I thought was saddest about the show that it reveals is Queenie's family is aware of the ways in which she is neglected as a child, and they themselves don't know how to help. It talks about some of the stigmas, especially within the Black community, of like seeking medical help. And even in a country like England, it's very clear that she's never given help or counseling or therapy for some of the things that she encounters as a child that her family was aware of as a child. And so it's manifesting itself as in her 20s in this kind of reckless behavior. She's also trying to take advantage of her youth in a way that could be very empowering if it wasn't burdened down by all of this trauma. And I think that's one of the ways in which I realized that it was very much deviating from some of the narrative in shows like Insecure, where very quickly we see that Queenie's behavior is not empowering. It is her running away from her trauma in the worst possible ways. All I could do was feel very sad for her in a lot of instances where she has this great friendship with her best friend Cheske, who Queenie is Jamaican British and Cheske is Ugandan British, and they have such a close friendship, but you can tell that there's a lot about her life that she does not talk to Cheske about. And so it's even when she's not seeking medical help or therapy, she's not leaning on her community for support as well. And I think there is a message there in that you need to find a family, a found family, a friend group to lean into and to help you navigate life and can help you kind of work through some of these issues. But I don't feel as though the show really talks about it. We do see Queenie eventually start getting therapy, so there is a discussion around that, but there's a lot of the things in which Queenie faces that she does not try to traverse in a clear-headed and meaningful way. It's showing her as the angry Black woman, and in fact she's references that in the show several times. She's frustrated that this is how she's being framed, and I think she is valid in both her anger that she feels, her frustration, her sadness, her trauma, but she also does not push back when people are framing her in that way. She allows them to kind of make their own assumptions, and there's just kind of this narrative of even the people who are harming her will kind of figure things out instead of her having to like really make them face their own misguided prejudices and biases that they have against her. And life is not always that easy. Sometimes you have to make people who have wronged you see the wrong, and sometimes they won't have this happy narrative of like life being okay and them asking for forgiveness and everything is tied together with a little neat bow. Sometimes you'll never get those things, and you have to find your way to being okay without it. And I wish that the show would have tackled that a bit more. As it is, I did enjoy the show, but I found myself wanting to see a lot of the relationships play out. Now, again, it is based on a novel, so I don't know if there are plans to do a second season of this, but I would love to see Queenie, when she gets to explore some of these healthier relationships that she starts to begin at the end of the show, because I want to see more of her being healthy and happy and whole on screen than I'm seeing her being this broken character. And I think that it would be interesting if the show played up kind of more of the comedic hijinks, but in a way that wasn't just this like very harmful behavior that is expressed in the show. All in all, I do think that the show was well made. It just starts a lot of conversations that I think it does not do enough to break down and dive deep into it. So I would give Queenie an overall rating of a B- for that alone. But in terms of what the show has potential, it has a lot of potential. And I would say that for the potential that it has, I would curve that and give it an A-. But let me know down below in the comments if you've had a chance to check out Queenie or even read the book by Candice Carty Williams. I would love to read the book and have a book discussion with you guys. So let me know if that's something that you're interested in. But as always, do me a favor and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support. And I will see you guys in the the next video. Toodles!